All right, all right. Welcome back, and happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. I hope you guys are excited about today. As you know, this whole week we've been talking about using that wealth formula, right? And understanding the concepts of the wealth formula is very, very important so that way we can win the money game, right? Remember, if you have questions as I go along or if you have feedback, you can always use our chat room and type them in there as we go. So that way you could get more insight about things that we're talking about. So, today I'm extremely happy to talk to you guys more about understanding, right? Understanding simple things like a concept called inflation, or not even so much a concept. I like to call it an event because, inflation is an event that takes place at a time in our life that none of us see when it's coming. None of us. A matter of fact, nobody really talks about inflation. And if you really look into it, a lot of politicians don't talk about inflation. Did you guys know that? Nobody talks about it. And it's important that we do talk about it because inflation pretty much, is something that eats away our buying power and also increase the cost of living, right? So these are things that are overlooked. And I've realized that many of us overlook them as well, especially when we're planning for our retirement, especially when we're planning for our future. We don't look at inflation. We don't. We don't think of calculating inflation. As a matter of fact, no one ever told us about inflation. No one ever tell us that, hey, inflation is something that we must know about or look into. No way. No one ever did that for us, right? So because of this, many of us become, I like to say, a victim to not knowing what we don't know, right? So what we're gonna do? What must we do in order to be ahead of the curve? I like to say, how can we be ahead of the curve? Well, we got to do something different, guys. We got to do something different. Like I said yesterday, it's all about making a decision. What decision are you going to make to say that, hey, I'm going to do something different? I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn. I'm going to put myself in a position where I understand something. Because if you don't understand it, if you don't learn it, then what? What's going to happen? I know what's going to happen. We're not going to learn more about finance, right? So that's the reason why we truly got to get ourselves, up and running and put ourselves in a winning position. And a winning position means that we put ourselves in a position to learn. That's what we have to do. We have to learn. And if we don't learn, then how can we earn? Learning is putting yourself in a position to earn. What you're going to earn, what you deserve. And only you could determine what you deserve. Only you. Only you could determine what you deserve. So you got to think, what do you deserve, guys? What do you deserve? Do you deserve a lot of wealth? Or you deserve a lot of wealth? Do you deserve to work until 65? Do you deserve to work until you die? Do you deserve to retire old and die old? What do you deserve? Because only you know. Only you know, guys. And I really want you guys to really hear what I'm saying this morning because this world, only you could make your future better. So when it comes to inflation and understanding inflation, just know that inflation is a silent killer. Inflation is like carbon monoxide. It is a silent killer. Do you hear me? Do you hear me what I'm telling you? Inflation is a silent killer. Okay? Anytime you think of inflation, I want you to think of a silent killer like carbon monoxide, right? You can't smell it, you can't taste it, but if you be around long enough, it will kill you. That's what inflation is. Inflation is carbon monoxide for our money. Because every time the price increase for the things that we need, like food, clothes, a car, whatever, guess what? That means that our money lose power. That means our money lose power, guys. Our money losing power. And the more our money lose power, it's the less buying power we do have. So why no one ever talk about inflation? It's because then we're gonna ask them to fix it. And how do you fix inflation? It's actually kind of hard to fix inflation. It's really hard to fix inflation. It is so hard to fix it because it's how the system was built. So how do you fix something that is unfixable? How do you fix it? Right? It's almost like you'd have to destroy the entire everything. So let me tell you why I say it's unfixable. And the only way to fix it is if our money, if they undo what they did on 1971 and, have the money being backed by some form of something, then that's the only way we could fix this whole money losing value thing. Because when you look at it, how is inflation and how is our money broken? And why is it broken? Well, let me tell you what. See, this is what inflation is. Inflation happens every time when any country, it's not just America. So I'm not going to single out America just like that. I'm going to let you know that this is happening to many countries. So anytime a country prints more money than they earn on their GDP, okay, you know what I mean? What a country earned, meaning that the sales that the country made or whatever amount of money that the country, the country runs like a corporation. Did you know that? Did you know that all countries are run like a corporation? It's just a matter of what is that they're exporting and what is that they're selling to the world, and that's how much money they bring into their country, and how much things they import is what they're buying from the world. So based upon the amount of things that we sell, right? Based upon the amount of things we sell to the world, we are printing more money than we actually earn. So anytime a country does that, everybody, listen to this now. This is the catch 22, right? The country doesn't lose. It's like everybody, because remember, we are the people that live here. So everybody, rich or poor, will lose some value of their money. And that's why some people refer to inflation as a hidden tax, right? Because the simple fact that inflation inflation only happens when the country keep printing more money than it actually earns. So when we say the country, I'm talking, the Federal Reserve, right? The Federal Reserve is who's in charge of printing. So every time the Federal Reserve print more money, it means that we're losing buying power of the money that we currently have. But now, some people say, well, Keon, isn't it good to put money in the economy so that way we don't go to a recession and crash? Yeah, that is very, very much so true. Absolutely. But you also got to think of there's countries that believe in this very same ideology, and their money went down to zero and worth nothing. You see, people like Venezuela. Venezuela lost how much value of their money due to inflation, but yet still they had all this oil. Venezuela has a very strong oil, but if they have nobody to buy it to, then their money means nothing to the world. There's nobody to sell it to, their money means nothing to the world. So a lot of people will say, well, Keon, do you think this will happen to the American dollar? Do you think this will happen to American dollar? Well, I tell you, it's much harder for America be an example like Venezuela. And it's because there's other countries that back their money by the US dollar. Ooh, man, I'm going too deep for you guys this morning, right? So if American dollar's inflation destroy the American dollar, it destroys a lot of money around the world as well. So that's the reason why ours has been running so long compared to other countries, because there's other countries that back their money by the US currency, right? But if you really understand it, inflation, it really helps nobody because why you think now, let's bring it back to full circle now. Why you think rich people, why do you think rich people make sure that they have a better rate of return, and they definitely want to make sure that the rate of return that they're receiving on their money is higher than what inflation currently is, right? So it's important for you to learn this. And it's very important for you to learn this. Is this making sense? Hit me with a yes or no, right? Are you understanding what I'm saying to you this morning, right? Because the thing about it is that we overlook inflation. Every time we overlook it. Did you know from 1914 to 2014, the inflation rate averaged 3.32%, right? But here's another thing. This is why I don't buy in the whole, you know, and I'm not knocking any real estate agents. I don't want nobody to come hit me in my DMs and anything like that and try to say, yo, Keon, you don't know what you're talking about, but prove me wrong. That's why I don't buy into the whole buy a property and it will worth this much today and later on it will worth that much. Is it a good investment? Yeah, it's a good asset to hold on to. Absolutely, because inflation is going to raise the price of it. Doesn't mean that the money have the buying power anymore. So anytime I see a property go through the roof and the price increase, all right. Do you know how price increase on things? It's because it becomes limited. But when you have a lot of it, it's cheap because they just want to sell. But when it start getting to the point where it's running out, they raise the price. It's called hyperinflation, right? Because now they inflate the price because the demands is getting higher. That's how you see. Yeah, yeah. This is why we really got to understand finance. You got to understand finance. You got to understand how the economics work, because this thing is so easy. It is so easy. So I don't buy into the whole buy a house and oh man, this is gonna be a good and it has good equity. Equity, equity is just another fancy word for a loan. So why would I want to take out a home loan against the home that I already own, especially if I already paid off? Now I got to then refinance it to get the equity out of it. Ugh. You see what I'm saying, guys? It don't make no sense. Okay, this is the thing that I look at people and I said, let me tell you, these salesmen are good. You've been getting sold the Kool-Aid and you've been drinking it at the bar. You've been drinking your Kool-Aid with a little tip of rum in it. So I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid years ago. Years ago, I stopped drinking the Kool-Aid. As a matter of fact, I don't even like Kool-Aid. It's too sweet. If I'm going to drink anything, I'd rather drink the rum. So here's the thing. When you look at the inflation and it comes to your retirement, though, right? Let's get serious. Let's talk about this. When it comes on to your retirement, right? Many of you today, and I want you to hear me out. Many of you today is planning for your retirement, and the plan that you're planning for your retirement, and you say, I need to have 200,000 saved up for my retirement. I need to have $300,000 saved or 500,000, whatever you're saying, even $1 million. Or I need to have $1 million in my retirement by the time I get to age 65. That's what the average people will say they want to retire, right? 65. right? And you making these decisions based upon what things cost today. And let's say that it's 20 years from now you want to retire. You're making that decision based upon what things cost you today. But you're not thinking about what the cost of milk, you know, eggs, your car, clothes, and your mortgage or your rent, whatever. You're not thinking about the cost of things for tuition for your kids 20 years from now. You're not thinking about that. You're only making your decisions for things based upon what things cost today. So let's say that you wanted 4 grand coming into you on a monthly basis in your retirement 20 years from now. You're making that 4 grand assumption based upon what things cost you today. But 20 years later, when inflation is at a 3%, you will need actually $7,224 per month to have the same buying power like you planned for 20 years prior, thinking that things will cost you 20 years later 4 grand. No, it's $7,224 a month. Are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for that? Are you ready for what's coming? Do you think you're ready for your retirement? OMG, you're going to get a wide awakening, guys. Because if you never learned even your FIN number, if you never learned your FIN number, your final income number, and then if you're not even earning the right amount of interest that is higher than what inflation is, if you're saving majority in the bank, that's my kiss to your futures. Bye-bye. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. Once again, I'm going to ask a question. They've talked about everything underneath the sun when it comes to this politician run. Not one of them talked about inflation over the amount of years I've been in America. I've never yet anybody hear a president go on the TV or a candidate running and talk about what they're going to do about the cost of living here in America and talk about inflation. Have you? Have any of you that's listening to this hear one person talk about what they're going to do about the cost of living here in America and what can they do to stop it? Never. I'm only 32 years old and I haven't. So what does that mean? Why you don't get taught about it? Because the minute the American people learn about it, it's the day the American people will start asking questions. Questions that I don't have to ask anymore because I've learned the answer. I've learned that inflation is another way to make sure that we always go back to what's called corporation because we will always run out of the money no matter what. The money doesn't hold any value. Why you think $100 could have gave you a full basket in the 90s when you go grocery shopping, and the same $100 today came to fill up your a little hand basket? You could have filled up a cart with your grocery in your cart in the 90s with $100 and get change back. Today, you can't even fill up your a hand basket with $100. Matter of fact, you may have to come out of pocket and pay a little bit more. Think about that, guys. Think about that. You guys haven't seen inflation in front of your eyes? We thought it was taxes. Oh, and they love to say, oh, it's taxes. Taxes gone up. Really? Taxes gone up. Okay, Donald Trump era right now. Taxes is low. Why is the cost still the same? If it was tax, guys, I hope you're seeing the deception. I hope you're seeing the deception. Because at first they said it was taxes gone up. Taxes at the lowest it's ever been now. Taxes are the lowest it's ever been now. Why is the price of things still going up? If it was taxes, don't be fooled. It was called inflation. And inflation represents what the price and the cost of services and goods are. Inflation happens when our country prints more money than it actually earns. And the result is that everybody will lose some value of their money. That's why some people refer to inflation as a hidden tax system in our monetary system. I want you to know it, repeat it, and say it, and do not forget it. Your retirement will be a misery, or you may die early, so you won't be affected by it. You know, every time I talk to people, most of the time, and you know what's funny? And I'm gonna give you guys this because I'm pro-life. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm pro-life. If they figure out, if I'm a billionaire and they figure out a way how to transport my consciousness into a robot so I can live longer, I will do it. I'm like that. I'm one of those guys. I want to be here. I want to make sure that I could, empower many generation, you know. So I want to live, right? I hope God bless me with many years, and that's why I love recording these things, because I think this is another way how to live on for years to come, by recording things and put it out there. So I'll be here for years to come, right? So the thing is this: when you look at, when it comes down to, you know, your retirement and the pro-life and living, I've realized that I've talked to more people about living, the idea of living to age 100. And people will look at me like, no way, I don't want to live that long, because then I'll be old and I can't do things. And I'm like, well, you'll be alive. You'll be alive. You would be here. You'll be present in the moment, and you won't become a memory. You'll be present and not a memory. You won't become the past. You will still be here, the present. But most people don't see it that way. I want to live like my aunt. I have an aunt that lived up until 116 years old. My aunt Timbet, God rest her soul. She lived to 116. That woman saw slavery, came in as a slave child, and like, you understand? She had went through all of that. So when you look at things like this and you say, man, I want that. I want to see many generations and live to see many things and learn along the process, and then pass on that knowledge. Pass on that knowledge. Yeah, that's a lot of good history, man. I had a lot of great talks with her. She saw so much. It was always great to just sit there and listen to her talk. So, guys, learn, learn. I encourage you to learn. I challenge you to learn. All right. So before I answer any questions in the chat room, right? If you have any questions or anything that you like to share, you can type that in there, or you can raise your hand. But just tomorrow we're going to be talking about taxes, and I'm going to talk a little bit deeper into taxes, right, to give you some more understanding. But just so you know, we have our workshops. All right, every Monday through Friday we have workshops, and we now extend them to the weekends now. So we also have them on Sunday. So every Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern time, or 8 p.m. Eastern time, we have our workshops. You're more than welcome to come to these workshops and get access. Remember, our goal is 30 by 30, our financial literacy campaign, because financial education isn't an option, it's a necessity. And that's why World System Builder is committed to educating and empowering 30 million families by the year 2030. So some of the ways that we're doing to help with that is by inviting you to come learn at our 4 steps to financial freedom. every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., and 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We provide financial literacy workshops and classes for you to come and learn. Just if you wanted to learn more about our campaign as well, after you attend one of our four steps of financial freedom, you could come in on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, where me and my fiance will be educating the masses and telling you all about our national financial literacy campaign. Also, if you want to come and learn some more this weekend, guys, you're more than welcome to come to our Extension Expo event, October 18th to the 19th. Please go to extensionexpo.com and cop your ticket so that way you could come along and hear some good stuff about finance. So, once again, every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, you're more than welcome to come to Money Talk with me and many of my friends that you can see, and you could learn a lot more about finance. So remember, you are one decision away from changing your future for the better. So always remember that the choice is yours, right? So look forward to doing some great things.